Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k, the Necrons channel, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the Triarch Praetorians and we're going to be working out which of the weapons is the best loadout. We've of course got the Rod of Covenant or the Particle Casters with the Void Blades. They're the two options that we can go with the Triarch Praetorians, so we're going to break it down and kind of do what we did with the Lich Guard and what we did with the Immortals and the Locust Heavy Destroyers. We're going to be using the same sort of examples and yeah, come to a conclusion with the best weaponry. Before going any further guys, we do have a sponsor for this video and it's from the 13th Attempt, which is an Etsy store, and they're located of course on Etsy. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief context before showing you the product. I wanted some sort of new system for my paints, my Citadel paints. I was struggling to find something, so I went on an Etsy store and I found something pretty cool. So in fact let me just kind of show you, it'll be a lot easier if I do that. So here we have what the 13th Attempt actually sell. It is these 3D printed mounts that go on these IKEA pegboards, and now I'm not sponsored by IKEA, but we're looking at these 3D printed things today that are going to go onto the pegboards, and they are literally perfect and compatible for all your Citadel stuff. Let me put a bit of a light on just so you can see it clearer, and it just makes everything much more tidier. You've got lots more desk space, everything is visible, and everything of course looks pretty cool. So yeah, head on over to the 13th Attempt. The link will be down in the description down below. So let's go over the basics to begin. Let's go through these weapons so we know what we're all talking about. The Rod of Covenant is both range and melee. It's got 12-inch range, 1 attack per model, Blitzskill 3+, Strength 5 minus 2 AP and 2 damage. So you're getting a good bit of AP and damage there. And as for the melee weapon, it's pretty much identical stat line, except you're getting 3 attacks rather than the 1 shot. Strength 5 minus 2 AP and 2 damage. Now when you go further down this screen here, you can see we've got the Particle Caster and the Void Blade, which is of course also ranged and melee. The Particle Caster, which is the ranged weapon, has devastating wounds and is a pistol. So devastating wounds, if you score a critical wound roll, a natural 6 to wound is a critical wound roll. There are ways to make critical wound rolls, but I don't believe there is any with the Triarch Praetorians, I'm not entirely sure. And pistols mean you can fire into engagement range as well. 12-inch range, attacks 3. Ballista skill is a 2+, which caught me off guard in this video because I did all the maths with the 3+ ballista skill and had to go back and edit it all because I totally forgot it's a 2+. But yeah, strength 5, no AP this time and only 1 damage, so slightly weaker with the AP and damage department, but dev wounds does make up for it. The Void Blade is the melee attack, 4 attacks rather than 3 compared to the Rod of Covenant. Web skill 3+, strength 5 minus 2 AP but 1 damage. So you can see quite clearly that the Rod of Covenant has the AP as well as damage, but the other options with Particle Caster and Void Blade have a lot more attacks and you hit much easier with the Particle Caster in particular, and death wounds as well. Now we're going to go through something that we normally go through in the middle of the video, the variables that could relate to these weapons. First of all, there's 2 stratagems that I want to talk about. The Protocol of Hungry Void, which is a +1 to the strength characteristic, which would make all the melee weapons strength 6 even. They start at strength 5. And if they are being led by the enhancement, you're going to get a bit of extra AP. And the Protocol of Conquering Tyrant to be able to reroll your wound rolls, and also you can do that at full range if you are being led again. Speaking of being led, the Sovereign Coronal, which is an aura for characters, non-epic heroes can take this to give the unit the ability of being led, effectively command protocols. Maybe you want to put this on a Hexmark Destroyer because it deep strikes. Triarch Praetorians also deep strike. So that's the variables out the way. For the mass of this video, we're not going to be talking about the variables because they're kind of situational. I mean, command protocols on units such as Immortals is kind of a given because they usually go with a leader, but Triarch Praetorians tend to not, so there's no point trying to boost that kind of stat. So let's get into it. The table here is slightly different from the previous videos. We've got the Rod of Covenant, which is ROC. We've got it in the range column and then the melee column, and then we've got the total combined damage output, if you like, and then on the right hand side we've got the Particle Caster with the Void Blade, again range, melee and total. The units on the left side, we're going to start with Necrons because we know Necrons. Later in the video we'll change it up to Marines and Tyranids as we've done in the previous videos, and I believe in the past video we did Wraiths. I wanted to remove the Invulnerable Say because this is kind of an anti-infantry unit. They're not really going up against him. I mean, maybe I could have in hindsight, but I've not done it now. We're going to go with what we've got here. Scarabs, Warriors, Immortals, Scorpion Destroyers, and the Monolith, just for something big to deal with. So if you're starting off against Canoptic Scarabs and you're using the Rod of Covenant, you can expect 2 to 3 of them to die at range. That's with the range Rod of Covenant. And in melee, you can expect about 8 of them to die, because you've got to remind myself, you've got 30 attacks, which are hit on 3, strength 5, -2 AP, 2 damage. So you can expect a grand total there of between sort of 10 and 11 to go down combined. We are presuming that you're going to get into engagement range. You know, you're going to shoot and then get into engagement range into a combat. Of course, that may not even be the case, but that's why I've kind of divided this up. If you don't get into engagement range against the Scarabs in this particular example, you're only going to do between 2 and 3 dead Scarabs. Now, when we're talking about the Particle Casters and the Void Blades, you're looking at 4 to 5 dead Scarabs at range, with the Particle Casters, of course, hitting on 2s with dead wounds. Only damage 1, but that's kind of where it's good, because I've got a squeaky mouse all of a sudden. What's going on? Because you've got 3 attacks per model. We're using a unit of 10, by the way, in case you haven't worked that out. It does say on the top left. 10 of them will have 30 shots, hitting on 2s, dead wounds, and then you're wounded on 3s as well. And that's where we've got the maths of having 4 to 5 dead Scarabs. In melee, we're looking at about 5 to 6 Scarabs, because there's even more attacks, isn't there? So in total, you're looking at between 9 and 11, which is pretty much the same, but because the average is slightly higher with the Rod of Covenant, I've gone with the Rod of Covenant there. So yeah, that is the Canoptic Scarabs. In fact, did I say that we wound on 3s? It's actually 2s, of course, because Scarab are toughness 2. Anyway, we will press on. So with the Necron Warriors, you're looking at between 3 and 4 at range with the Rod of Covenant, and 11 in melee. Again, the melee weapon just seems to be the more powerful, because you're just getting more attacks with it, of course. In total, you're looking at about 14 to 15 if you shoot and make the charge. With the Particle Casters and the Void Blades, 10 to 11 at range and 14 to 15 in melee. That's a total of 24 to 26. Of course, that's an average of 25 if you weren't aware. That's a lot of dead Warriors. Of course, with Warriors, we can do all the reanimation shenanigans, but that's pretty decent, to be honest with you. And I didn't actually expect that from the Praetorians. So yeah, definitely a green light on that one. Immortals, in fact, I'm going to just go straight into this. 8 to 10 with the Rod of Covenant, 16 with the Particle Caster and Void Blade. It's kind of simply because, A, you're getting more attacks with the right hand side of the screen, Particle Caster and Void Blade, but also damage 1 is all you need against Warriors and Immortals. You don't need damage 2, damage 3, damage 4. You don't need anything. Damage 1 is enough. So now it's just a matter of what attacks has the most. So that's why they are winning in those 2 examples. The Scorpion Destroyers is a little bit different, because they've now got 3 wounds. You're doing between 0 and 1 with the Rod of Covenant, because toughness 6, the Scorpion Destroyers are toughness 6, aren't they? So you're going to be wounding on 5s. And in melee, you can score around 2 dead models there, totaling between 2 and 3. It's not a massive amount, but it's something, isn't it? It's something. But the other side, the Particle Caster and Void Blade, you've got between 1 and 2 at range, and in melee 2. So you're looking at about 3 to 4 dead Scorpion Destroyers, which again, I thought it would be the other way around. But when you do the maths, it's actually the sheer amount of attacks, again, the devastating wounds, it seems to be winning over the Scorpion, over the Rod of Covenant, which I'm quite surprised about. The final one on the list is the Monolith. We're not going to be talking dead models here, of course. This is just damage output, but we're looking at between 0 and 2 at range, probably 0 realistically. 4 in melee, again, sheer amount of attacks, and a total between 4 and 6 as an average. With Particle Caster and Void Blade, you're looking at about 4 at range, which is nice. Again, that's devastating wounds. You're going to get out of the wounds you're going to get, 4 of them will be a 6 on average, and that's just going straight through the 2+ armor and straight through anything else really. So that's why we're getting 4 there, and in melee 2 to 3, giving you a grand total of 6 or 7, which again isn't much more than the Rod of Covenant, but it still gives those set of weapons the green light, because they're slightly better, 6 or 7. So yeah, again, I'm quite surprised that the Rod of Covenant didn't do as well as I thought it would, especially against the last 2, the Scorpion Destroyers and the Monolith. I just thought it would be a bit better with that damage 2. But hey, maybe it isn't. Now we're going to be moving on to some units that we talk about with Tyranids, with Space Marine, just to mix it up a bit. I mean, I probably could delve into other factions, to be honest with you, but I wanted to stick to the ones that are currently available. Tyranids have just got their codex. Space Marines have pretty much got their codex coming out. I don't know when it is, soon. And a lot of people play Space Marines, don't they? So we're going to go with the examples again. I don't believe I've changed them from the last video. I think they are as they are. I'm not going to go through each line this time, but you can see it's a little bit more of a mixed bag, so maybe I should go through this, in fact. Termagants, we're doing a lot of damage in melee with both weapons, really, but because they're only toughness 5, that'd be good. They're only toughness 3 with a 5+ armor with 1 wound apiece. So remember, the Scarabs in the first example were 4 wounds apiece, so they're obviously much more difficult to get rid of. Termagants are just 1 wound models. 17 to 19 in total for the Rod of Covenant, and 29 to 31 in total for the Particle Caster and Void Blade. Both of those options are doing enough for me, but you can see there's a huge difference with the Particle Caster and the Void Blade, a huge difference in fact. Intercessors, we're doing between 11 and 12 dead Intercessors, not bad. Only between 9 and 10 Particle Casters and Void Blade, and that's pretty much because of damage 1. Damage 2 is all you need against an Intercessor with 2 wounds. To the Rod of Covenants are just going straight through them, whether they're shooting or whether they're fighting. And the AP, of course, is very nice on a model that's got a 3+ armor save. It's doing enough. Terminators was a funny one, and it's actually equal between 2 and 3. I mean, I think it was ever so slightly in favour of the Rod of Covenant because of the melee weapon. You did around 2 on average, whereas the melee weapon with the Void Blade, you did between 1 and 2. So an average of that is sort of 2 and 3, but I think it's slightly less for the Void Blade side of it. So I've still given it a yellow light there, still even, but it's probably on the Rod of Covenant side there. Tyrant Guard, which is toughness 8 with a 3+ armor save and 4 wounds apiece. It's very similar in fact, and the Rod of Covenant just pips it because of the 3+ armor save. But again, it's ever so slight, so they could realistically just be both yellow lights or amber lights. And the Exocrine, which is a toughness 10 monster, between 4 and 8 wounds with the Rod of Covenant, and 7 with the Particle Caster and Void Blade. Now that's of course less than 8, but between 4 and 8 was an average between the two weapons, so realistically that's a 6, isn't it? I mean, the max, the ceiling of it is an 8, but really you're more than likely going to get a 4 or 5 or 6 or even a 7, whereas this one is just a flat 7 on average. So I've scored that for the Particle Caster and Void Blade. So when we did the experiment against the Necron units, the Particle Caster and Void Blade was clear in my opinion, but changing the targets to the Tyranid units and the Space Marine units, it was more of a mixed bag, wasn't it? There was a lot more of a better armor saves, like a 2+ armor, 4+ in one with the Terminators, toughness 8 with the with the Tyrant Guard. Noticeably though, when the rods of Covenant were better, they weren't much better. They were only just better. But when the stats were in favour of the Particle Caster and the Void Blades, they were miles better. Like for example, going up against the Termagants, the max average was 31 for the Void Blade and Particle Caster, whereas the rods was only 19, which is a huge difference. And against multi-wound infantry, I expected the Rod of Covenant to be better, but it wasn't much better. It was quite difficult to split them, really. They were only just better, really. Also, something else to note which definitely massively favours the Particle Caster option in particular is the fact that they've got the pistol keyword within the weapon. So that means once they have got into engagement range of the enemy unit, they can still fire in the shooting phase, in your shooting phase. Whereas if you've got the Rod of Covenant and it's your turn again and you're still in that fight, you're now not shooting the Rod of Covenant's range attack because you're in melee and it's not a pistol. However, there is a big however to that as well. Of course, the Praetorians have their ability, which is the rerollable charge roll, and they can also charge in a turn in which they fell back. So that kind of in fact nullifies what I've completely just said, doesn't it? Because they can just fall back, shoot, and recharge. No, they don't fall back and shoot, do they? It doesn't say they can shoot, it just says they can recharge. So basically they're getting to fight first, but they're not getting to shoot. So that is interesting in itself, really. So yeah, that is kind of a moot point really, because as soon as you fall back, you can't actually shoot, but in this case, you can still charge and fight first. So that's just going to help both the options. So you really just want to stay in engagement range, especially if you've got the casters, the pistols, so that you're still gaining more attacks. You're going to be still having your 30 shots with a 10-man unit, and that's before you've even got to the fight phase. So for me, I think it's clear. I think the Particle Casters and Rod of Covenant are the better option. The 2+ Ballistic skill makes things very nice. Devastating Wounds is also very nice, and the pistol keyword on the ranged weapon is very nice. I mean, the only other thing is the Void Blade. 1 less damage, but one more attack. I still think it's a pretty decent weapon, even though it's only 1 damage. So I would definitely favour that option at this moment in time. Now, of course, we're getting the Codex in either the end of the year or the start of the year. I'm not sure when it's coming out. But when the Codex does drop, I do expect the Praetorians to have some sort of comeback with one of the detachments that we have. Because at the moment, I don't feel like I don't really look at them. I don't know about you guys. Do you use them? I would rather use other units, but I think there will definitely be some sort of synergy with one of the new detachments. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, guys, that is it from me today. And if you've got any more maths sort of experiment videos that you want me to do, just let me know down in the comments below and I'll see if I can do them. But other than that, all that's left to say is thank you for watching. See you in the next one.